All right, it says we're live, so thanks for watching and welcome to the GM's Dice. I hope you guys enjoy the chat. If not, well, leave a comment and tell me what you didn't enjoy. If we didn't cover something that you want us to cover, leave a comment and let me know so we can cover it in the next session. Hope to do these once a month. Tonight we've got Nathan Tice with us again. And we've got, I know I'm going to just crucify your last name, so I'm just going to call you Mike, with us for the first time tonight. So,
that works for me.
So if you want to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about your channel if you have one or any games that you've ran, go right ahead.
All right. Well, my name's Nathan Tice. I've run probably the one odd game for the club, and the fact that I did a play-by-post. It's in the dying embers right now, and if you want to pick my brain about that one, feel free to look me up on the forum and just ask away, because it was a very interesting episode. So I don't currently have a channel. Some things I'm still working out. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool. Hi, my name is Mike. I run the channel Mike the Piper, as seen there. See, you know, whenever you twist it around for the Hangout toolbox, you always get confused because it's like, you know, left is right, right is left, up is down. You know, Mandalorians are crap. Everything's opposite. Everything's opposite. I run the game Heart of the Empire, based off of my channel, which is played beautifully by four. Used to be five, but now four wonderful players. I'm hoping the fifth guy comes back really soon. The Fantasy Flight Star Wars game is probably one of the most amazing games. I am so happy to have found it. I'm so happy to have found the Tides of Change club. They're a phenomenal club, headed by a great guy, Andre. If you're not subscribed to the Tides of Change YouTube channel, also subscribe to them. Subscribe to everybody. Just go ahead, have 700 subscribed channels. You know, your feed is never boring. It would just be awesome. Just go for it.
I'd have to say that's really good advice. I know I've probably got 30 or 40 subscriptions between D&D and Star Wars, and since I started playing Star Wars a year and a half ago, I have not run a single game of D&D, and I think I've only played in 2. Fantasy Flights and their dice system has got me completely obsessed. This is our second session of the GM's Talk, or GM's Chat. In the last one we covered a lot. We covered obligations and duties, a lot of stuff. Tonight, for our first topic, I would like to talk about cool and vigilance. Now, as I read them in the book, cool is, and again, this is how I understood them. Cool is for when your players know that there's going to be some type of fight or some type of encounter that's going to need their initiative rolled. When they're cool, they're calm, they're ready, they know it's coming. And vigilance, as I read it and understood it, is for when, say your guys are camped out and they're got a guy up keeping watch. He's being vigilant. He's keeping an eye open, trying to keep his ears open and hear and see if anything's coming. And it's for when stuff happens unexpectedly. Now I know that Joshua Hayes, he understands it differently. Unfortunately, he is not here and probably won't make it this evening. So he won't be able to weigh in on how he uses it or how he understood it. But how did you guys interpret cool and vigilance, and how do you use it?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty fine line, regardless of which way you look at it. I like the idea of, yeah, it could go both ways. Personally, I tend to go more vigilance than I do cool. It's a personal thing. I just feel that, you know, I use cool more in a conversation type kind of thing. So if I'm in the middle of, you know, there's a character negotiating or using deception or something, I would use cool as the reaction, the response, you know, the challenge, the set the difficulty. Vigilance to me just seems like, you know, for me it's just a default. I'm just like, okay, we use vigilance, we'll just go that route. I don't. If you're prepared, then I add boost dice to the roll. You guys can make choices that way. That's pretty much the way I use it, though.
And that's entirely fair, I think. For me, basically how I read the rules very much like you. I said, okay, well, you know, cool is a reaction under stress. You know, if you know that you're going to go get into a firefight, you're going to be under stress, but you know you're going to get into a firefight. And vigilance, always being wary, always being like just on the ball. You know, maybe even like if you're trying to prepare for the unexpected, you know, something's about to happen, you're not quite sure what, but you're not quite sure when. You know, it's like, you know, I think of vigilance as a jump scare in a movie. You know it's going to happen. You're not sure when it is, but then it still hits you, and it's like, damn it, I knew you were coming. You know, that kind of thing. So I mean, even in a situation, and in a situation like that, I'd like to, you know, like take, like, okay, there's a, you know, maybe there's a squad of bounty hunters that are trying to, you know, capture the players. And perhaps they set ambushes. They lull them into a false sense of security, and maybe they'll do quick hit and run. You know, go in, attack. Then okay, a roll for initiative under vigilance. You know, maybe they'll be like sitting there wandering. Maybe the players will try and stalk them. Okay, you know, you're stalk. You know, you're kind of coming closer. You know, someone fires the first shot. Okay, now we're in initiative under cool. Because, you know, now you're going to be in a firefight, in a stressful firefight that can kill you, but you see it coming. You know, so I think that's the kind of vigilance and cool perspective, at least in my mind.
Okay, yeah, I can see where you both get with that one. With that, I mean, cool being used more for the non-combative encounters, and vigilance being used for combat. I could see the merit for that. And
but what if it changed, like during the course of action you changed, so you use vigilance because, you know, the surprise, the whole element, and you actually had a secondary role.
Well,
later in the thing where you got the cool, you know, you're under pressure, where, you know, you have an opportunity to change the direction and course of the combat because now you're in the zone. You know, I mean,
yeah,
I know
if you're rolling for your conversations and stuff, type of encounters, for the negotiation type of encounters to see who gets to talk and win type of thing, then I could see having to roll again when combat starts.
Right.
I myself, when it's just role playing and the players are having a conversation with the NPCs, they're interrogating somebody or they're negotiating price or something like that. As
Right.
you know, because you've played in quite a few of the games I run, I don't have players roll for that. If you've got something to say, speak up and say it.
Right.
I just do initiative for encounters. So
Right.
for me, like I said, cool is for when you know you're getting ready to get into a fight. You know that, for instance, with the Mando Aid campaign or saga that I run, it's a group of Mandalorians. They're always ready to fight. And almost every encounter they get into, it'll start out with words, but at some point, somebody's going to draw a blaster, or somebody's going to draw a vibro blade, or a blade of some sort, and start a fight. So that is then when I have initiative rolled. And
Right.
in that circumstance, I use cool. But if you guys are making your trek on foot and hunting a bounty or something, and say a rancor decides to come plowing through the forest at you, that's going to be something I'm going to use vigilance for. Or were you keeping your ears open and keeping your senses alive to notice your surroundings and stay on your toes?
Yeah, I fully agree with that 100%. And in a situation like that, whether it's bounty hunters or rancor or whatnot, it would be the players rolling vigilance because they're surprised versus the DM's monster, the creatures, cool, because they're the ones. Unless you come to a really kind of, the rancor is just plodding through the woods, or maybe it's on the trail of larger prey, and it stumbles through smelling that prey, and all of a sudden it just runs into the players, and it's like, what the? Rancor's like, what the? And, then you'd roll kind of a double vigilance roll. But
right.
But in that scenario, yeah, I would say, somebody's rolling cool, somebody's rolling vigilance if it's like man versus man, unless it's literally both parties, smash into each other like, oh, didn't see that coming. Then you both roll vigilance, and then you fight. Or even in the case of your the all too well used and fun Mexican standoff, where you have two parties kind of holding weapons at each other, and it's like someone's got to make the first move. Then you're both rolling cool because you're both expecting things to go down, and sure enough, someone pulls a trigger. Okay, now we're in for the rumble in the jungle. So it's that kind of a scenario.
Yeah. Now, like, say you're. Now, I will allow players, if, say, the group of players, you got 4 or 5 players, and you tell the majority of them to roll cool, or you say, okay, roll cool for your initiative. If a player has crap cool but a good vigilance and can give me a good reason for why he should be rolling vigilance instead of cool, I'll allow it. Because, I mean, if he tells me that, oh, well, when this happens, I'm looking down at my data pad and I'm not paying quite enough attention to what's going on at the moment, then by all means go ahead and roll vigilance because you're not paying attention. When, I mean, you obviously should be, but everybody slips up. So it's one of those things, if you can give me a good reason for why you should roll the opposite of what I ask for, I'll allow it. You just got to give me a good reason for it. and the same vice versa. If I ask for a vigilance check and your vigilance is crap and you'd rather use cool, if you can give me a good reason for why you should use cool, I'll allow it.
Okay.
And I definitely
Fair
think that's fair. However, like I would tend to use that very sparingly, just because if someone has decided to focus all of their character's efforts in one direction and doesn't want to multitask, and their other rules are, maybe are not garbage, but they're not as good as they should be. In my mind, it's, well, you chose that character's direction. This is your character that you've made, and even still, I would be pretty hard pressed to do something like that, just because, yeah, you want to go in one direction, that's cool, but then you got to understand that more things than just that are going to be happening. In my game, at some point, my players are going to need to start doing negotiations and start using charm and persuasion and talk themselves down from a situation, as opposed to, going with blasters firing or whatnot have you, and that mostly because it's a diverse galaxy. It's a beautiful, diverse galaxy, and every scenario should be explored by their characters, or anyone's characters, because it brings that sense of depth and that sense of kind of, it's that Star Wars charm, where it's not always always about pulling out your blasters and firing, or tossing a thermal detonator at someone. It's so much more, and that's like that's true. It's one thing. It's one thing I've always been really kind of hesitant about, was just making a kind of a, I don't know what you call it, but just like go in, kill the bad guy, get reward. Go in, kill the bad guy, get reward. Go in, shoot more guys, get some more rewards. I kind of want to make it more diverse and more, like intricate, because again, the galaxy's an intricate place.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't want the murder hobos.
Which unfortunately, that's what the Mandalorian game I've got going. They kind of are the murder hobos. I mean, they don't go in and slaughter everybody they come in contact with. They do have their negotiation moments where they've got to actually role play and talk to the NPCs and this and that. So in that aspect, they're not murder hobos. But in the aspect of the factor that, I mean, it is a highly combative game. They're Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mandalorians come from a very, honored warrior tradition culture. It's a very, it's very steeped in that. And it's understandable that, as a player, if you're playing, a Mandalorian, then that would be the direction you'd go. It's like, no, Mandalore has a code, and you follow the code. And if you don't follow the code, you're dishonored. You don't deserve to be a Mandalorian. And it's very. Yeah. It's very focused, and there's nothing wrong with that in that sense. But, like, case in point, when I give my players a challenge, especially with, and this is why I love Fantasy Flight Game Star Wars so much, I give them a broad challenge, and it's the mission. Okay, we need this done. We don't know anything about it. We don't really know what the layout is, or we don't really know what's happening. But this person or this group is doing a bad thing in this location, and I would give them a map and say, you know what? Okay, do whatever you want, but accomplish what the mission is. And I encourage, and especially with I'm going to be starting up a one-shot. Probably around May or June, and it's basically, okay, here's a map of the facility. You got to get in, you got to get the thing, do the thing, kill the MacGuffin, and then get out. And I'm not gonna say, you have to be, you have to go through, this route, doing this thing with this thing. It's like, nope. Everything for me, like when doing a mission, everything is limited to your imagination. So, for example, when the characters in my game first went to Bestine, and they had to go to the Juggerhead shipyard, they could have gone at it from any angle that they wished. They could have went to Bestine, tried to hire a submersible to try and go underneath the water. And I said, you know what? I'll not only allow that, I encourage that because it's something different. Or, yeah, okay, so we're gonna jump in our transport, and we're just gonna do a quick strafe by and see if they start attacking, and we can quickly drop some guys down like right on the very top, bust into the office and just wreck the joint or do something. Yeah, I'd allow that too.
Yeah.
Or even like or disguise or negotiation or maybe blackmail, like anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an open map, it's an open opportunity for you to just like let your imagination run wild, and that's what's so much fun. And I'm not trying to jump into the segue of the next topic, but it's what's amazing about the universe. That,
we're already there.
I know, I'm terrible for that.
No, we're good.
It's what's beautiful about this universe because you can. It's not just a sci-fi western. Because I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, Star Wars like a sci-fi western. You got the big bad empire, and you got the crazy rebellion, and they're all just fighting. Everyone's just shooting. Everyone's pulling their blasters from their hip, and it's like, well, it's so much more than that. Like it really is so much more than that. You have this beautiful Eastern influence of this like Bushido society, known as the Jedi. And you have this like. This darker path, this Ronin path, so it's this beautiful like East meets West culture set in space, and it's what's so wonderful, and and doing like a Star Wars feel, what I love is just the diverse characters, the multitude of languages. So I mean, maybe not everyone can speak Huttese. So maybe you actually just start talking Huttese, and if some of them do know, and this is like even for audience, type it in what you're saying in chat, and it's like, okay, this is what he says, and then you just say it in that. So I mean, so the audience doesn't really understand what you're saying, or maybe one person speaks it, so you write it down on a note, give it to the player, and then you just role play it out, and everyone's looking like, what did he say? What did he say? It's something. It's to add that little bit, and the movies did 3 of the movies did a beautiful job. But that's a topic for another conversation. Of really capturing that beauty, that mystery, and that charm that is Star Wars. I'm getting all rambly. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. That's what the chat's all about. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. I mean, that. As far as our other topic of what makes your game feel like Star Wars, I'd have to agree. Not everybody's going to speak the same language. There's going to be times where some of the people you come across, some of the species or race, whatever you want to call it, that you come across, aren't going to speak the same language you do. They're either going to have a translator or wear or use some type of translation device, or the people just are going to be completely dumbfounded and, okay, what did he say? Let's revert to sign language here. I need this signed or whatnot. Those type of things are definitely going to happen. I'm as far as my players go, in my 2 campaigns, in one-shots I've had good guys in one-shots. In my 2 campaigns I'm running, my players are not good guys. Edge of the Mando Aid game, they're Mandalorians. They're warriors. They're bounty hunters. They're paid, hired killers, kidnappers, whatever they're paid to do. At the Edge of the Empire game that I run, they are a group of just low-life criminals. There's one guy out of the group that could be considered a halfway decent good guy. The rest of them, I mean, they're just criminals. One of them is, we've just determined in the last session that one of them is a Mandalorian who We still haven't found out through role play why she's lost her memory, but she had lost her memory at some point and is now getting some memories back and found out she is Mandalorian. Another character was a dark side using Force user. Another character was, he's an ex-Republic bodyguard. He was one of the Republic Guard that guarded the chancellors and the senators and stuff like that. And when it became the Empire, they got rid of all of them and started using the elite clones and stuff. So I mean, he's the one guy who's a good guy. He doesn't want to hurt everybody. He doesn't want to rob everybody. They wound up in one session with a cargo hold full of medical supplies that they had stolen off of a ship that they raided. They came across a ship in space and decided, you know what, we're going to dock with them and we're going to fucking raid them. We're going to take what they've got, and that's just that. And one of their guys wound up seriously injured, and it was early in the campaign, so nobody had a whole lot of credits to be able to pay for his medical treatments and all that they'd need. But they had all this medical equipment and medical supplies, and they were on, I think they were on Tatooine, and one of the towns that they were in, it's hut controlled and all that, so I mean there's not a lot of hospitals or medical supplies and this and that, and they come across this little makeshift hospital that is running low on everything. And they decide, okay, well, we'll give you this medical equipment and this and that if you can save our partner and provide safe haven for us in the future.
Yeah.
So, and that's all because of the one guy. The rest of them were like, no, fuck that. I don't care if I'm dying or not. I want money off of this. But the one player's like, no, we can make a deal with these guys, and we can do that. We can do good for them and good for us. But yeah, the two campaigns I run, I don't have any good guys in it.
I don't know. I actually would kind of disagree with you on that one. I think the Mando or the Mandalorian campaign, like, you know, Sir Alec Guinness said it best when he said, you know, good and evil, it's all based on a certain point of view. And it really is, like, especially as far as the Mandalorian, like, as far as the Mandalorians are concerned, you know, they are doing good. They're warriors that hunt, and especially for bounty hunters, for the most part, if you end up on a bounty hunter's watch list, you did something stupid or you're a bad person.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you know, either you ran afoul of the Hutts, or you really PO'd the Empire pretty good, and that's never really a good thing. Or, you know, even Alliance, even the Rebellion probably would hire bounty hunters from time to time to just kind of keep the Empire in check or have to do what they have to do. You know, and I would imagine that would not really necessarily be unheard of to see rebels hiring bounty hunters.
Yeah. So far, though, with that particular campaign with the Mandalorian one, they haven't worked for anyone that was a good guy. They worked for Jabba at one point, which, I mean, what they did for Jabba wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I established. Go for it, Nathan.
No, we ended up in some territory that we didn't. I don't think we previously explored the territory. It ended up causing problems later on, though.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got a reputation. The Mandos, that game, they've got a reputation. I mean, it's not like you want the job done. You know. Yeah, this is the people you call. I mean.
Yeah, that particular group, if you want a job done and you don't mind it getting messy, that's the guys you want to call. But no, this particular session that I was talking about, they working for Jabba. I established the factor that Jabba's male Rancor that he had died for some reason. I left that open to the imagination, and he needed a new bull Rancor so he could mate it with the female he had. Established it story-wise to where the Rancor that Luke comes in contact with is actually a younger Rancor. So being the offspring of this Rancor that they go and find. So it's a hunting mission, but so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's for a bad guy. And the place that they go to have to hunt this Rancor is on another clan's territory. And Mandalorians, they're clan based, they're very tribal, and they fight amongst each other as much as they fight against others. And this other clan that they have to go into their territory, they've sort of had a very on edge sort of rough treaty with them of, okay, you stay away from us, we'll stay away from you, and we're good. But they crossed over territory and into the southern continent, which is this other clan's territory, and the next session they had to deal with the repercussions of it. Their clan's base wound up being attacked by this other clan, and that just another game of amazing freaking rolls and amazing role playing. A group of 4 players with the help of 2 or 3 NPCs wound up annihilating a group of 60 other Mandalorians. I mean, it took a good hour and a half to get through the encounter, but and 1 or 2 of the characters were very near to being down and out, but they managed to annihilate these other 50 or 60 invading forces. It was a hell of an encounter, but I had really thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than it was, but they had really great rolls that night.
Yeah. I think that when you look at it, as far as Star Wars is concerned, Star Wars is designed to draw people into it. If there's a game going on and the characters aren't feeling involved in it, you know, I mean, your game goes flat. It's done. It's over because they're not investing anything in it, and you're really not. You're not providing that epic feel. You know, I mean, yeah, you want to be on the edge, like literally. I think that's the reason why the Edge of the Empire segment of the game is like probably my favorite. I like that better than Force of Destiny and Age of Rebellion, because the Edge of the Empire, you're literally on the edge. I mean, it's like, okay, I go around this corner, somebody is definitely looking for me. I'm like, I'm going to die, you know, this kind of thing. If you don't have that opportunity for the epic feel, you might want to reconsider how your game goes.
Well, I think there's that, and I mean, like, for me, I run Age of Rebellion, and I so far I'm loving Age of Rebellion. Now the big thing is for me, especially in that, is that one, it's in a time period that we know for sure, because if you've not watched the movies, then well, whoever's watching this, if you haven't watched the Star Wars movies, I don't know why you're here. Like I really don't. Seriously, like I it's unfathomable. But anyway, you know, we've all seen A New Hope. We've all seen, you know, The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and I harken back to the classic ones only because they were the first. That's what we knew 100%. Yeah, there were the prequels, but let's not. So with these 3 movies, it was just like one of those things where it's like, wow, you know what's happening. They do cut a lot, and that's what I like about Age of Rebellion so much, is that you have this open galactic conflict mixed with almost like a Cold War setting where each side is constantly trying to subvert, spy on, infiltrate and sabotage each other's supply lines and bases, and assassinating important dignitaries that belong to either side. It's very much a very back and forth, with the rebellion having very much their own styles of play, their own tactics. That's what I like about it. I love that era just because there's so much that could be done. If you wanted to, like you could have an all Bothan game where they're trying to run the Death Star plans, for the second Death Star to the rebellion, and it could just be a huge thing. There's so much opportunity in that era. Edge of the Empire is good. I mean, it's cool. Like the smugglers, bounty hunters. There's so much opportunities, and the one thing I like so much about Edge of the Empire is that it's so open to interpretation. You can do so much, just by being a smuggler and having your own ship, and just like go make money, or go figure out massive plots or what the heck's going on. Like there's so much cool stuff. But for me, my heart's always been with Age of Rebellion. I also bought Force and Destiny. I want to see what that one's all about as well. I just it's the Jedi powers. Just got to read through it a couple more times. Mostly just the little things.
Yeah, I've got all 3 of the books. I love all 3 of them. Edge is so far my favorite, just because it is the scum and villainy of the galaxy. I've always been a fan of the bad guy. Hence why I guess that's part of why I dress as a Mandalorian. I'm a part of the Mandalorian Mercs costume club and all that stuff. I'm a fan of the bad guy. But Edge is all about the scum and the villainy all the way out at the edge, and the low down dirty that's going on. Age is all about the battles and the fight between the Empire and the Rebellion, and it's great. I love reading the book. I've found that Age, for me at least, works best for the one-shots or for trilogies, because as I interpret the Edge or Age book, it's very mission-oriented. I mean, or at least their adventures and stuff like that. It reads to me as being very mission-oriented.
I think it can be, and it can also have the opportunity for campaigns, especially if, let's say, for example, I'm going to throw this out there. For new, well, I'm not going to jump to my game the game that I'm running per se, but like even if you look at 4 new recruits are on a training mission, and lo and behold, in this rebellion training grounds where they have to go and survive, all of a sudden they see a crashed probe, go and investigate it. Turns out to be a dark trooper, and it's like, what the hell is this thing? All of a sudden they take the information back, and it's like, okay, well, we got to figure out what this is all about. Like we don't know. They gain more information. It's like, and they want to find out more. So you have your plot hook right there. Maybe you have your overarching plot hook. You start on one planet, and all of a sudden this dark trooper comes out of nowhere. Like, what's going on? It turns out it could be an automated factory that has gained sentience and decided that the war between the Empire and the Rebellion is just going to kill so many people that there's just no point to it. So they're going to start pumping out dark troopers like candy, and like just throwing them out into space like those gumball machines there when you put $1 in and just shooting them, shooting them all out of these plastic eggs, hitting every planet. Maybe there's 20, 30 Dark Troopers, and let's be honest, Dark Troopers are you don't mess with those things. Like 8-foot tall droids with rocket launchers and super heavy blaster cannons, just walking around, screwing up people's days. So I mean, that unto itself, something like that, you have an overarching plot, but to find out more information on where these things are made, who was directly involved, then you have all of your small missions. So the players are still trying to figure out what WTF is going on, but at the same time, there's like the little things. So like, yeah, if you want access to this like high security Imperial intelligence computer, we're gonna have to get a passcode from this guy, and then now you got to go, either capture this guy, threaten him, cajole him, talk to him, bribe him, do whatever you got to do. But there's another mission unto itself. So each mission kind of it's like basically like a giant pie. Each slice is one small mission that basically encompasses the entire thing, because you're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the game entirely. Like not just Age, but Edge and Force. You have that like overarching plot, and because there's so much incredible beauty in the interpretation of these dice, that you can have these like small sections and like these intricate webs that all add to this one great big overarching plot.
Oh yeah, I very much take from all three books and use them. But yeah, I didn't mean that Age couldn't be done with a campaign or anything like that. It's just, for me, it read as being a very mission-oriented sort of thing. And Force and Destiny, yeah, you can make a Force user with Edge, and you can make a Force user with Age, but they're somewhat limited, I guess you could say. And they're not meant, in Edge and Age, they're not meant to be true Jedi. With Force and Destiny, you can make someone who's a true Jedi. If you wanted to run a game that was set during the Old Republic, you could with using that book, because you've got all of the information to make full, flat-out true Jedi or true Sith, whichever side you want to run from.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. It's like they're all phenomenal books, and I do agree that Edge is the one that really does allow for the most freedom. I would definitely agree with you that it does allow for the most freedom, because in Age you are almost restricted, and you're not restricted by the parameters of canon, because I think a lot of people. And again, if anyone's watching at home, like I'm a new person to the group, so I don't know if I've got 100% say on this, but I don't think like canon doesn't matter. If you want to run a Star Wars game where Darth kills Luke on Bespin, you can. Like it's not that's the amazing thing about
yeah.
You're not restricted by the parameters of what happened in the movies, or even in the extended universe or anything like that. Everything is open. But
Yep.
with Age of Rebellion though, like you kind of are stuck within the parameters of Empire and Rebellion. Like like both the forces are trying to take each other out, but you could be in the middle. You could like, even if you took the aspects of it and just kind of add in your own, like instead of just take out duty and just put in obligation. You can kind of run an Age of Rebellion game where, let's say you're playing both sides. If you wanted to run a bad guy game, hey, maybe you're an arms dealer, and you're just you're playing both sides up and just being a super super massive like douche hammer. Go for it. I mean, why the hell not? Because that's the beauty of RPGs.
Yeah, it's the. I think you talk about more like the involvement with organizations. Like Edge of the Empire is like very loose in their organization, and when you get into Age of Rebellion, you're definitely working with a specific group of individuals. They're whether you're dealing corporation, you're dealing government, you're dealing paramilitary, however that works. And then when you get to the Force and Destiny, I mean, that's like they've gone, okay, you got this organization, but this is, you are, I mean, it's so specific when you get to Force and Destiny. So I mean, I guess it's a matter of how much structure you want. I mean, how tight do you want your parameters? But yeah, that's and yeah, I guess that's the other point to make is the fact that in the books they never went through and they said this is canon, this is exactly how it goes. They're like, here's a general outline. The game is originally set, in this time period. It's not specific. Yeah, I could only imagine the books would be like freaking huge if they went through and said this is canon. You gotta play it like this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are people who want to play Luke fighting Vader on Bespin. I don't know. I mean, that just, I think that's already happened. You want something else that's a little more epic, a little more, personal. So.
Sorry, I was muted and my arrow wouldn't show up, so I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah, Force and Destiny definitely, very much so, pigeonholes you a bit. You're stuck within their parameters. Edge, like you both said, it's very free flowing and you can pretty much do just about anything. Age is like Mike said, you're a little bit stuck by canon, but not completely. As far as having to stick to canon, as far as the club goes, there has never been anything that I'm aware of that has said, hey, you have to stick to canon. I think the only thing that any of us really we'd like to know when we get into a game, is it going to be a canon game or is it going to be your own universe? My games, I try to stick close to canon, but at the same time, I throw in a lot of stuff from what Disney has termed expanded universe stuff now, such as the Mandalorians. I mean, Disney, in the time frame that my Mandalorian game is, it's the Mandalorians are peaceful at this point in time, which I have just recently in the last session started bringing that more into a canon aspect. The Duchess Satine and all that has taken over Mandalore. The group that is playing has refused her authority and are now, I guess you'd call them rogue or Ronin Mandalorians. They're Mandalorians, but they're the old school Mandalorians. They're not peaceful pacifists and stuff. They don't agree with that. They run by the old code, the same way it was when the campaign started. When the game started, we were just during Episode 1, Phantom Menace, time frame wise. We're now running in between Episode 1 and Episode 2, where everything is starting to fall into place. The Clone Wars are getting ready to happen. A couple of sessions ago, Jango Fett stopped by the clan's base, their base of operations, and offered the group the chance to come work for him. He had a contract that he needed to fill some seats, and they were offered positions. One of the players decided that his character would take that offer, that the 7 figures that he was offered and the adventure of it sounded nice, so he took it. In that same session, one of the other players, who unfortunately has had to leave the group, and we've filled his seat with someone else, had taken over the clan. He had challenged their current leader at the time to an honor duel because of something that happened in a session before. The clan leader, the Rusalar, had dishonored himself and the clan with one of his actions, and he decided that wasn't right, so he challenged him to a fight, and he won. The other 2, they turned down the offer, thought, no, 7 figures is nice, but you're not giving me enough information here, so I'm going to have to say no, I'm sticking with the clan. Which I would have probably done myself. Somebody comes offering me a whole bunch of money and says, I got this job, I don't know how long it's going to take. Could take years, could take months. I can't tell you anything else about it other than this is how much it pays. I'd have probably turned them down too. But the one guy who took it, he becomes one of the Mandalorians that is on Kamino training the clones. He becomes what the Mandalorians call the Kuei-Valdar, those who are dead. Because they disappear, they're gone for 10, 15 years with no word. Jango is the only one that is allowed to leave Kamino until after the Clone Wars have started. So now that one is finally coming into canon, with the Duchess taking over and all that. At the edge of the Empire game, they're very much inside of canon. They're running from the Empire and working with the Black Sun because they're indebted to the Black Sun. They had a big shipment of days that they had stolen from a hut, and were going to sell to the Black Sun. Well, as they're taking this Black Sun operative to their ship so that they can get the shipment to give to them, their ship has come under attack inside the docking bay there, and it's the Hutts. They found them. They were taking their days back. They destroyed their ship. They killed their pilot, and the Black Sun said, well, I'm watching this happen, so I know you're not trying to screw me, but we did just pay you a very large amount of money, and we don't want the money back. Instead, you now work for us until you have paid off your debt by working for us. So they're indentured to the Black Sun for almost 1 million credits. I mean, they had a couple of I guess if you were to relate it to today's standards, a couple pallets full of this day's spice drug, probably a couple of tons worth of it. So street market value, it was a lot of credits. So they'll be working for the Black Sun for quite a while, unless they can work a deal with them to do a big job to pay off a chunk of it real quick. But the days is one that's the one part that's not really canon. That's a drug that Andre had come up with in his very first campaign that he was running before the club even became a club. I think Campaign 1 and Campaign 2 were dealing with a lot of the days and this and that. It's a street drug, but it's also something that is used with cloning, is how he established it. So I kind of took from that and was using it, and that is in my universe now. And that is something that I will be bringing into my other campaign here in the next session or two. He had established that days could only be found on Alderaan. Well, in my Mandalorian game, Alderaan's still around because they're in between episode 1 and 2. But it's going to be the factor that there is one other place to get it. Alderaan being a very rules-oriented, very government-oriented planetary system and planet is going to have all sorts of regulations and this and that. Well, they're going to come across another place that has this, that's out on the edge of wild space, and it's the only other known place to have it. But I can't give out too many details because Nathan plays in that game.
And that's totally understandable. I mean that's just beautiful. Like the whole idea on that is just gorgeous, and I love it. And I'm actually looking forward to watching that too. I wouldn't mind. I would like to get into another like Star Wars campaign like to watch, and that one sounds really quite exciting. Mostly because I understand-ish the obligation from Edge of the Empire. Like I understand duty just fine. It's basically just here's you guys you did good. Here's a treat. You did good. Here's a treat. And then as they keep doing it and keep going, eventually it's like okay, here's all your tokens from playing the game. After 100 tokens, you win a prize. Here's your prize, and it's
Yeah.
And that's essentially how duty works. I mean, after you basically use you utilize your duty, which sounds all kinds of wrong, but yeah, I know you were all thinking it. I'm the guy to say it. You roll on your duty chart, and obviously whoever gets it, like one of my players did, he rolled doubles to see if they made it, and everyone gets like 2 extra wounds. He received 4 extra wounds, and he actually saved the life of a player by doing that because one of the players almost died by getting a light repeating blaster to the chest at like point blank range. Normally you don't walk away from that, but unfortunately he had to find the one stormtrooper that could aim, and just messed him up. So if it hadn't been for the duty, he'd have been dead, and I would have lost a hell of a player, and I would have been really choked. Well, I guess he could have rolled up a new character, so there is that too. But still, I would have been pretty hurtful. But but I like the idea of duty. I like the idea of like as your players get more and more known, and they do more and more things, they start getting up there. Like I kind of wished Edge would do something like that, because if you're a smuggler, not every person that's like, hey, I'm gonna be a smuggler. Wow, that guy's a smuggler like Han Solo. No, because it's you're not famous or infamous, depending on how you want to look at it, as a smuggler, just by saying that you're a smuggler. That sort of thing. It mirrors real life in the age of piracy.
Yeah.
Or even and bounty hunting, same thing. I'm a bounty hunter. Whoa, this guy, you hear that? This guy's like Boba Fett. Like, no, of course not, because that's just not the way it is. You got to build up your reputation over time, and
exactly.
yeah, and as a GM, if you're making a like a group of bounty hunters, or even like the crew of a smuggling ship, these guys should like be scraping the bottom of the barrel trying to find jobs. So instead of like,
yeah,
listen, I need you to transport 250 crates of stolen Imperial Blastas. They're not gonna like no one is gonna entrust almost billions of credits worth of material to some dude they just met at like a cantina. It's like, hey,
right.
I like the way you drink your space milk. Here, here's a several billion credits worth. You better get it there or else. Like, it's not like that, right? You got to build up. So I mean, at very first, it's like, okay, listen, I've got like 27 dewbacks that have to go from this planet to this, to my ranch on this planet. Don't mind them; they're a little bit of a pain in the ass. So make sure you bring a shovel. And hey, you know what? Maybe those, but you can add it. But again, you can add a plot hook to it, right? What if those dewbacks were injected with a special type of hormone that actually increases their like production of insert random thing here? Maybe the dewbacks are actually mules for days, or maybe they're mules for some other type of pretty scary stuff that it turns out
right.
And this of course starts plot hooks. It's all about like giving your players like a plot hook, or one of the one of the enzymes that one of these dewbacks has cause them to go absolutely apeshit crazy, and when they shoot them, their stomach blows apart and spills out these contents, these little bags or these little like mini boxes of don't even know what. It's like, what is this? And sure enough, then it's like, huh, we got to hide. We have to hide a dewback. How do we do this?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. We went into the obligation and duty and such in the first session of GM's chat, so I won't get into it too much. But no, I fully agree with you. The only thing with me is that I always, when I first started playing, I tried using obligation, I tried using duty and all that the way it was meant to be done, and I would either forget to roll at the beginning of the session for it, or I'd roll for it, and then as the game's going on, I would forget to bring that into the session. So it's just sort of become for me a role play tool for the players. You take your obligation, you take your duty, and that is a part of who your character is, rather than being an actual mechanic to the game. So that's one aspect where rules as written, I'm not real big on rules as written. When it comes to that factor, I'm more of an old school player where if it's cool, it works. Let's do it. If you can describe something cool to me, there are times I won't even make you roll for the action. If you've described it cool enough, yep, that works. you just pop this guy or whatever from a half a kilometer away or whatnot. You described it cool enough, it fucking works for me.
Yeah.
But
I generally like my big thing is I generally don't like to do roles for like social aspects of the game. So like for example, like if you come up with like the most epic, like game breaking, Lucas himself couldn't have written a better speech as you're like about to lead a whole platoon of like troops in a battle or something to that effect, I would probably be like, no, it was too good. Because what if they roll for it and it's like you roll like a despair or you just roll nothing but threats and it's like great, like all of that beautiful role played out speech, like this inspiring thing that's just like even I want to go up and fight for this guy,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, and then it all just turns to crap in like in a roll. It's like, nah, that's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, if you can actually come up with it on the spot and actually role play that section out, no, there's no role coming for it. If you can role play that out and you've just inspired me or you've just made me believe whatever bullshit you're spewing, then your charm or whatever, it worked. That's all there is to it. But if you just come to me and say, okay, well, I want to do this and I want to kind of charm the guy into to trying to do this, then it's okay, give me a roll for it. And then after your roll, it's okay, well, give me an idea of what you said based off what you rolled. That sort of thing. But yeah, I fully agree. If you come up with some just off the wall, just fantastic speech, then by all means, you're not going to have to roll for it. And that's just the way it is. But as far as tonight goes, we've hit our time limit for these GM chats. I like to keep them at about an hour and a half. Any longer, and it gets boring to watch for the viewers who do watch. I will be doing another one of these in a couple of weeks in mid-May, and hopefully another one before the end of May. I can't guarantee 2 in the month, but I can guarantee 1 here in a couple of weeks. I'd be happy to have both of you back. It was fantastic getting to talk with you, Mike. As usual, it was great talking with you, Nathan. And anybody who watched or is watching, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for checking out the channel. And check out Mike the Piper. His sessions are phenomenal. I love the game he's running. I've got to get sat down and watch the recent one.
Thank you. I had a wonderful time. I love discussing Fantasy Flight game Star Wars. It's rapidly becoming my favorite game to run, and yeah, no, this is great. And all of you watching, if you love Star Wars and you love the idea of this game, and if you've never played it, even if you've never played it, I would really suggest just checking it out. Check it out. Go onto the Tides of Change role-playing club on Facebook and just give it a shot. You got questions? Everyone there is more than happy to ask. Sean here, more than happy to answer all of your questions. Nathan, me. Well, me not so much because again I'm still fairly new. But everyone on that page is friendly, approachable. Good group of people. Like honestly, go check it out, and check it out, and ease the weight of your wallet a bit. Trust me, you pick up Edge of the Empire at least to start. You will not be regretful. And if you do, my address is blah, 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 and you can just send me the bill and I'll totally pay it for you.
That's nice. And on that's a perfect way to end. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. And if you're watching later, thanks for watching. Come back and see us later.